Before we start with the agenda, I'll get Counsellor Hinawai to start with a karakia, please.
Kia ora, Chair. O tēnā tātou katoa. Nau mai hoki mai I te wā o Koanga. So just a warm welcome to you and on this lovely spring day. The kōwhai blooms are out, and so the powers should be ready if you go diving this weekend.
Okay.
We'll start with the karakia. He honore, he kororia ki te atua, he maungarongo ki te whenua, he whakaro pai ki ngā tangata katoa. Hanga I te atua, te ngākau hau ki roto ki tēnā o mātou. Whakatongia tō wairua tapu, hei āwhina, hei tohu I a mātou. Ake, āmini.
Amen.
Thank you, much appreciated. Welcome everyone. We've got apologies from Tanya Kerr and Councillor Price. Are there any other apologies?
Not sure whether you can hear me. We have apology from Peter Parker.
Okay. Have we got an apology, or is that
His apology.
his apology? Okay, thank you, Peter.
Chair, I'd like to apologise and ask if I can leave around 1 o'clock if we're still going.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
That's no problem. We've got also Nigel Simpson also has indicated that he would like to leave earlier as well. So thank you very much for that notice. So those apologies be accepted. Have we got a mover and a seconder? Malcolm and Annette, thank you very much. All in favour, put up your hand. Thank you. Carried. Thank you. Okay. Before I start, today will be possibly a reasonably quick meeting. It will be mainly updates that we'll be discussing, and then from then on we'll go straight into our workshop, which will also give us some update on where we're at and what is planned in the future. Once again, yesterday, Chris Dolly, Anne Castle and Martina, we actually met with a group of Hamwana residents who've been affected by the floods prior to the weekend. And once again, it brought home to me that a crisis like such, when people are getting wet feet and they're starting and they've lost belongings that are irreplaceable, it actually comes home to roost how important actually is the work that we do. And that we as a joint committee and the strategy that we're working on is so important, because by us waiting for anyone to have wet feet before we actually start to act upon this, we can factor that by another 100, maybe by 1,000 of what we actually experienced last night. So I think that's why it's so important that we do the work that we do. Okay. Okay. On that note, we'll carry on with the meeting, and hopefully that will spur us on to make some decisions for the future. Conflict of interest. Are there any conflict of interest from anyone? I don't see any hands up. I don't hear anything. So thank you very much for that. Then we go to item 3, confirmation of the minutes of Clifton to Tangoio Coastal Hazard Strategy Joint Committee held on the 4th of June. That was a late item that was added. Apologies for that. Are there any items that you would like to raise from those minutes? Hinawai.
Yeah, Chair, I just noticed that Anne Redstone and I are named as the deputy chairs of the committee, so probably need a bit of correction with that.
Well,
yeah, maybe do.
We might need that. I think that's an intention for the future. Just
Okay, Annette, you agree with that? That we make that change?
Fine with me.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you wanted to keep it that way, you know. Easy. Okay, we'll make that change, Hinawai, and well observed. I hadn't even seen it myself. So, are there any other items that people would like to comment, ask questions about, or need to be changed? If not, can I please have a mover and a seconder that we adopt these? Councillor Ormsby. I can't see another hand up because I can see 9 people. So I expected there's someone else. Peter, can you see Malcolm? I see Malcolm's hand go up. All those in favour?
Councillor Redstone is first, I think.
Come again?
Councillor Redstone is first.
Okay. So Peter, if you can see all those who are on the Zoom, I can only see 9 on my iPad. So if you please can help me out with who's actually nominating and putting a seconder in, then that would be really great. Thank you. So on item 3, those in favour of
Excuse me, Chair, we've got Councillor Whetstone.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a problem in that I cannot see the agenda on my other computer because I can't get it to come up. So I'm just wondering if there's any way around that, or otherwise I'm just going to have to be quiet.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Councillor Reedstone, I'll email it through to you quickly.
But I can't get it up on the iPad at the same time as Zoom, so I've been trying to send it to my other email, which is agooden53@gmail.
Oh, can you just repeat that?
Agooden, AGOODIN 53@gmail.com.
I'll send it to you right away.
Thank you. Cool.
Thank you, Annalise, for that. Okay. Any other hands up? I don't see them. I can see now in the big picture all the faces. Those in favour of accepting the minutes of the 4th of June 2021, raise your hand. All in favour? Thank you. That is accepted. Then we go to item number 4, actions from the previous Clifton to Tangoio Coastal Hazards Joint Committee. That's on page 3. Chris, will you?
I'm happy to take us through the actions. So task 1 there is completed. We did that site visit in July. That was to the northern cells. So it was great to have a chat to some of the local residents as part of that tour. Item number 2 is in progress. That's our memorandum of transition. So we've got some initial advice on what that needs to contain, and we'll be talking about that further in the workshop afterwards. Again, item number 3 around our timeframes and gateways. There's an item that covers those for discussion and direction in the workshop. Item number 4, we've provided some advice previously, and we continue to keep a watching brief, and we'll bring items to the committee as they are available. And item 5, we'll bring a paper to the next committee. It is rather overdue, but many of the items out of the regulatory report have fed into the current work packages, such as the new environment package. So we'll just bring that summary of how that has translated across, and it will also get picked up somewhat in our further work back to Regional Council in terms of some of their conditions and also some of the transition planning. So we'll bring a paper to the next meeting, just clearly drawing the lines of sight between the recommendations of that report and where we are with each of those. So that's it for the actions. Happy to answer any questions or queries.
Any questions or queries, anyone, regarding the actions? I don't hear or see any hands up. So on that note, can we move, and can I have a move and a second that we adopt these actions? Yep, got hands up. People are all busy. Thank you very much. That's carried. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chair, could we just see who actually moved that and seconded it? We'll just type in.
Councillor Ormsby and Brosnan.
Okay.
In that order. Okay. We then go to call for minor items not on the agenda. Are there any minor items not on the agenda that you would like to bring? And we'll discuss them at the end of the meeting. I don't see any hands up. I don't hear anything. So that will make the meeting even quicker. Great. Excellent. We'll then go on into item number 6, communication and engagement update. That is Normally that's Rebecca who does that, Chris, but you can
Yeah.
speak to it.
That's correct. So we'll take the paper as read, and Rebecca is here, so I guess can reinforce any main points, and then happy to answer any questions or queries from the team.
Morena koutou. I'm in the office and it's an excitable Friday, so I'm sorry if there's a bit of background noise and you can't hear me very well, but I'll try and speak clearly. There are two main points from this paper. So the first is that we have now begun engaging with mana whenua, and we have had one hui. However, COVID has put a bit of a dampener on it and slowed down the responses that we're getting. So in order to mitigate that, we're sending a lot of follow-up emails and phone calls, but we're also going to do a pre-record of the presentation so it can be sent to all mana whenua groups so that they can watch it at a time that suits them. And then the other key point of the paper is about the engagement in November. So we want to do informal engagement ahead of formal consultation next year, and we need to do this ideally before the end of the year. So we have picked November as the month to do this, and we've suggested that this could be made up of 4 parts. So it's community-led, council-led, digital, and then a series of walking talks. So we're building the plane a little bit as we go, but welcome any and all feedback and questions.
Okay, any questions? I have got one. Henawai.
Kia ora. Thanks, Rebecca, for your feedback, and it's impressive around how quickly you pivoted and you used the efficiency with videoing to be able to present out to many. I just wonder what sort of ability will those respondents be able to give feedback once they've watched the video? So will it be through Facebook and you can immediately feedback? Because I found with the annual plan when we were in the first lockdown, that worked really well, how you had the presentation and there were sort of questions that would come up through the feed. So is there an opportunity like that?
Can I just clarify if you're talking about the mana whenua engagement or the informal engagement in November?
The mana whenua you were talking about.
The mana whenua, yeah, ka pai. So we're talking about emailing this to each of the mana whenua groups, and when we email them, we'll say this is the overall idea of what the project has done up to date and what we're looking at in the future. We're very happy to answer any questions or come and present to you. So we're still making that offer, but we're hoping that by offering this presentation for them to watch at any time, it'll increase engagement.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca.
Yep, Malcolm.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Rebecca, 19.2, the use of that shipping container from the Hastings District Council. Where do you propose to site that, and how are you going to inform the general public where it is and what time it is?
Kia ora, Malcolm. So I'm in discussion with Hastings District Council and Napier City Council about those locations. The initial proposal for those are Homoana, Clive, somewhere along the Napier foreshore and West Shore, and we'll be developing a communications and engagement plan over the next few weeks in order to make sure that people are aware that the container is there.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, Tanya Hopkins has joined the meeting.
Okay, so Tanya Hopman has just joined us. Welcome, Tanya. Okay, we're
Kia ora. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. And we're at the moment, we're in item 6. And Rebecca has just given us a little bit of an update, and we're into questions right now. So I've got a question for you, Rebecca. You've already had one hui. How did that go? And who was present from Joint Committee, HBRC? Who was present at that hui? Because I think, although, and I discussed yesterday with Chris, you've planned quite an extensive engagement plan, and it would take a lot of time for us to join in. But it would be good if we actually, as joint committee members, could actually participate in some of those huis just to get a feel, but also for tangata whenua to see that actually who we are as well. I think that's actually quite important. Could you update me on who you're planning to actually take along when you actually get into active huis again?
Yeah, sure, Gareth. So we went along to Te Tai Whenua o Hira Taunga, and Simon was present, Mark Clues was present, and Melanie Taiaroa, who is from our Māori Partnerships group. Simon led the presentation, and Simon, I'll let you speak to this as well, but I think it was really well received. There were some quite interesting questions, and there were a couple of follow-ups for us in terms of some groups that we hadn't considered or hadn't known to consider, and they suggested we get in touch with them. In terms of counsellor involvement, the thinking behind keeping this at a tag level was because we were looking at, I can't remember, maybe 20 different meetings. So because it was going to be so time consuming, that was given to tag, but definitely, well, Simon, I'll let you counter this if you not, but yes.
Before you put your foot in it, eh?
Yeah,
You
kind
pass
of.
it on.
Yeah, I'm pausing. I'll pass the buck.
Yeah.
Kia ora. Yeah, like I agree with everything you just said, Rebecca. So I think council involvement would be great to have, Gareth. So I think it's a bit uncertain at this stage quite when we'll be having meetings or what format those will be in, subject to COVID bits and pieces. So I suggest that once we've got dates booked in, we could let the joint committee know. And if you're interested and able to come along, then that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's important, and definitely I agree. Councils are like cats; you can't hurt them. So just set a program in place, and if we can make it, we can make it. If we can't, we can't. You know, because if you have to think about councillors, then you'll never get it done. That's the type of people that they are. You know, so but it would be good just to hear what kind of questions, what is important to Tangata Whenua. And it's always good face to face. You know, that's how Tangata Whenua operates, and that's how we should operate as well. That's a new mode, really. Have you got any? Thanks for that update, by the way. Any other questions that we may have?
Could I possibly add something that I should have said
Yes,
earlier?
of course you can. Yep.
For the November engagement, we're really keen to get a gauge on how keen the committee members are to support that and get involved. So don't have to feedback right now, but we'll be sending you an update by the end of October with what's going on. So keen to hear how much you want to be involved. Thank you.
And I think it would be good, Rebecca, by actually explaining what you're planning, where you're planning them, and what dates and times, and maybe even a way that we easily can actually bring that across into our own calendars. So for an aid to assist, that we don't forget that some of those opportunities have arisen for us to actually join in. So if you can make it in such a way that we can bring them up easy across to our own calendars, then we actually have a better way of actually participating.
Mm.
Okay, any other questions for Rebecca or for Simon? If not, I would like to move that we accept this particular paper. Have I got a seconder? Henoi, thank you very much. All in favour to accept the communication engagement update? Say aye, put your hands up. Thank you very much.
Aye.
Much appreciated. Accept it. Okay, then we go to our next item, which is item number 6, and that's project manager's update. Simon.
Kia ora, Chair. Kia ora koutou. This will be a very brief update, really. I guess the substantive matters have been talked about in the workshop component around sort of the forward planning for the project. But I guess the 3 things to update you on. The first one, I guess, is to really recognise and celebrate, really. We have achieved a major milestone over the past couple of months in that all councils have now agreed in principle to the recommendations from Rain or Ash's report. And I guess that's been a work in progress now for, I guess, probably 18 months really to get to that point. So that is a major milestone, and it provides us with that clarity of forward path now, acknowledging it's still a work in progress, still agreement in principle and more work to do. It is a big achievement. So thanks to all the support to get to that point. That's great for the project. The second thing to note around our work streams, they're all progressing well. You've heard about the comms engagement piece already. We have received recently a gap analysis from the coastal ecology work stream, which is a great sort of baseline to start from that work to then launch into. We are advancing the regulatory work stream as well. The managed retreat work stream is due to bring a report to this joint committee, was planned for this meeting, but that has been delayed, unfortunately, for various reasons, but we will bring it to the next meeting as the intent, so expect that in your November meeting. And other work streams are progressing well. I guess it has been a challenge, as Rebecca mentioned, around the COVID impacts with our community workshop series. We lost our August meeting and we haven't yet booked in the next one, and that has impacted the ability to advance the signals and triggers work stream. So we're just trying to juggle around and make the best we can of that until things are a bit clearer around our ability to meet face to face. And the last thing to update on really is in terms of the budget. It's a bit mechanical, but the budget so far is on track. We do have some major uncertainties around the costs for the formal consultation process next year. It might be that we need some more funding to support that, but we're still refining those costs subject to the process we follow. So that is a work in progress. I can let you know next meeting where that lands. That's a brief update, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for the project manager's update report? No questions. Then I'll ask for a mover and a nominator for us to accept manage the update. I've got Tanya Hobmans and Malcolm Dixon. All those in favour, please raise your hands. It's all carried. Thank you. We're flying through. That's really good. Or not. You could take that two ways. Item number 8, current coastal projects update. Chris.
Thank you, Jeff. So we'll just whiz around some staff and get an update. I don't believe we have any staff from Napier for Whakarere Ave. Just double.
Chris.
Yep.
I do have an email here that I can read out for a brief update on that from Napier City.
Excellent. Yep.
And I think Caroline Thompson's here too to speak to any funding matters. I can see her name there. But in terms of the update on the works, Napier City Council has started engagement with Ngāti Pardo. That is underway. They've also sought an authority. They've lodged it with DOC to, I think it's for handling the penguins, which I think Caroline can confirm, but that's also work underway. And they're looking to put the tender documents out for the construction process for these works in October this year, so next month, with the intention the contractor that's successful can then start stockpiling rock for the works for construction to start in February 2022. They're expecting work to take about 6 months. They do highlight there are some unresolved risks and issues that may impact that timeframe, but they are working through those. So that's the written update that I've got. Caroline, is there anything to add to that?
Yep, thank you, Simon. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah. Although a bit muffled.
Sorry, just getting my microphone sorted. So we are planning on meeting with the residents again, and the targeted rate, as agreed by our council, will remain at around the $305 per annum per property, including GST, even if the cost of the project goes up. We haven't got final costings in yet, but it's likely that it will increase. Last update I got from the project team. And yes, it is the penguins that application relates to.
Okay, so that was Caroline. Any other questions? Hinawai.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Thanks, Caroline. I just want to ask about the targeted rate for Whakarere Development. Is it 100% targeted rate or is it split?
So the full cost of the project, I think 97.5% is funded from our general rates, and then the remainder is funded by way of a targeted rate on those properties directly facing the revetment along Whakarere, which equates to around about $305 per property per year.
Okay, thank you, Hinamai. Anyone else? Any questions? Not? Okay. So back to you, Simon. Sorry, Chris.
Yep. So I think next we'll ask Jose to see if he's got a bit of an update on our new consent for sand deposition at West Shore.
Hi, Chris. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Excellent. Yes, it's going slow. We have some changes. We've been trying to get Doc to provide feedback for the last, it's going to be a year soon. But they have been answering emails, and yeah, they've been promising to come back with something. So that's, yeah, we're still trying to push that front forward. One more news is that Deborah Stewart from Napier City is gonna take over the project from Napier City side. John Kingsford was looking after it before, but given his commitment with other things, he's passed this to Deborah. So at the moment we are still waiting for Deborah and John to make a decision on whether they want to make changes to our proposal of all the comments and summaries from all the consultation that the initial consultation that we've done with Maori partners and fishing groups and all that. So we are waiting for that. Deborah said that she wanted to socialize this with the new CEO at Napier City, and so yeah, so we're waiting for that. So basically, I mean, the team that we're trying to push this forward, which is Janine and I. Janine is a planning consultant. We are just waiting for this to be to keep moving the project. What else? Yeah, so once that it's I guess decided, then we'll socialize all these initial results from the consultation and make a proposal on the actions that we will follow to address these initial concerns. And we want to hear back from the stakeholders about this proposal and see whether, if they agree with it, then we'll be able to start drafting the consent document. But if not, then we'll have to do some more work.
Okay, thank you. Hinua, did you have your hand up, or was that an old hand? Okay, thank you. Is there a timeline here, Jose, that we have got? Because obviously you've been working on it for a while, almost up to a year, trying to get an answer out of Doc. Is there a time frame? Is there a timeline? Is there where we have to say, well,
Yes. So the time frame is already passed a couple of years ago, I think. So I mean, we keep pushing, and if they don't reply, we'll just say to when we apply for the consent, is that we try the best we can to get them to provide the comments, and they just have not done it. So that's the best we can do. But they're not actually holding the project. We're just still pushing that side, but we're also pushing other fronts as well. So if they don't come back to us at all, then we'll just submit the application without their comments. Okay. I think one of their, Janine commented me that they have no really budget to provide any comments in a stage prior to the application. So they provide comments after the application is submitted, but not before.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Jose? If not, back to you, Chris.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you. So I'll ask Mark to comment on the latest on the H18 and Cape View Corner, and we may in fact be able to take Cape View Corner off the list. We might want to have some discussion, given that the majority of it it's basically been delivered. but we'll let Mark update us on exactly what the status is.
Right, thanks, Chris. So we'll just pick up on the Cape View corner while we're talking about it and tell you that the project is complete, including all the post-construction reporting. And so the last thing to do is to bless it. And so that blessing's programmed for Tuesday next week. I'm not sure what time, Jeff, do you know?
11.
Yes, it will be at
11
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. So,
yeah.
So it's good to see a completion and have some success. And everybody will know that's had any dealings with this. It's been a long time coming for the residents out there.
Yeah.
But it's here now. While we're up that end of the coast, let's talk about Clifton Camp emergency rock sill. So that's actually planned to be completed this week, actually. So that was involving the line of emergency rock that was installed to a new location and bolstering that up with some new rock. As I understand it, that'll be completed this week. But Anne, you live out closer to that. You'll have been monitoring it. So are we going to complete today?
Yeah, no, not sure, Mark, about that at this point. I haven't been for a drive yet.
All right. Well, you keep your eyes on it for us. That'll be good.
Yeah, thank you.
The Clifton revetment, well, yes, the maintenance work and the annual renourishment's all complete. A storm surge gate was put in and protocols all been established with the operation of that with the camp manager, so that's all good. We just need to monitor that. So that, if you remember, the gate was to prevent storm surge coming up the ramp and smashing our road a bit. So that's all good. H18, that's still a work in progress. So there was a meeting yesterday with the regional council staff and our council staff to talk about where we're at with that. There are a number of issues still to be resolved before we'll get go forward on that. In particular, for the H18 people themselves, they're going to need to possibly get some independent advice to reassure themselves around things like the cost of consenting and the risk of consenting, the construction costs that might be involved for them, and the risk of the construction failing. There's always a risk of that in the coast. So those are sort of key things for them, but also to get some greater clarity around the regulatory regime and what they can do behind the wall once it's built. So those are key things that will be important to them. So at this stage, there's more work required from, I think, our end, just to flesh out some of that so that they get a clear picture of what their go forward is. Now, Chris, you were in that meeting yesterday, so you might want to add to that.
Yeah, look, I'm happy to add to that. So, yeah, we did have a meeting of the executive teams.
Is everybody just...
Okay, what's happened there? So I'll just start again. I think everyone's frozen, but we did have a meeting of the executive teams, and it was agreed that the current delivery model will remain for the time being, because we had a discussion in light of the in principle decision whether the regional council wanted to take over from where Hastings is at the moment. But it was recognised there's still a lot of work to do to finalise those decisions and some mechanics of the Local Government Act, etc. So it was decided that the current model would remain for the time being. So that's probably the key bit of information there.
Okay, excellent. I'm not sure whether we still can operate, because can everybody still hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because the video is all sort of you all act like robots right now. Yeah. Can you just be a bit more fluid, please?
So just to round out, lest we forget about Whirinaki, that's there's no further to report on that. It's just a case of monitoring that and just staying in touch with the residents out there as the need arises. So that's my report.
Okay. Any questions for Mark or any of the other staff that have reported?
Sheriff, a question from me probably to the committee is whether, given that Cape View Corner is now complete as a construction project or new project, whether whether we can take that off the regular update list, or whether there's a desire to keep hearing about how it's going, etc.
I think it will be best to take it off, Chris. And if somebody has an interest, then it's just a matter of actually in general discussion, we can ask for updates if need be. But hopefully it's well constructed that there won't be any updates needed.
Yeah.
And especially the next major storm surge that we're going to get, we'll no doubt we'll get to hear how it's withstood that. So let's hope we'll hear positive news then. Okay. That's all we need. If there's no questions, very hard to see any hands up. I think you now need to actually voice rather than put your hand up if you have a question. Sounds like everybody...
Not so much a question, Jeff, as a comment. I think just to comment on the H18, they're very affable to paying for their wall, and the West Block model seems to be the one that is working the best for them. And I did note that we down the west coast, the West Block wall that's in place took a huge hammering a couple of weeks ago and managed very well. Actually, it was a massive sea down there and made no impact whatsoever on the wall. So that was interesting to watch. Yeah.
Okay, now that's a good update, and that's positive for H18.
Yeah.
Any other comments? If not, have I got a mover and a seconder to accept the current coastal project updates? Yep, I see a couple of hands. So that's Anne and Tanya. Thank you. And Redstone and Tanya Hoppins. All those in favour, say aye. Hands up. Yep, I can see them now. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, then we go to our last item, which is any discussion of minor matters. Since there are none, then that's the end of our meeting. Is there any other discussion that we need to have? It's been reasonably quick, so we've got a little bit of time, and we can take the liberty. If there's anything that you want to bring to the table that we can discuss. Anyone? If not, we will close the meeting. And Henawai, would you be so kind again to close us?
Chair, if I can just ask, are we all moving into workshop after this?
Yes, straight after.
Yeah.
I understand. We'll break for a little bit, so we maybe can grab a drink, stretch legs, and then we'll go into the workshop. Would you like to?
Yeah, at the end, I'd like to do karakia if we're all staying together. Yeah. Okay.
And looking at the time, you will still be present then, I hope. Hey, Simon and Chris.
So just want to maybe check in around the logistics. Obviously, the public part of the meeting will finish. I'm not sure if we need to log out and log back in or continue on. So either John or Peter, have you got any advice as to transitioning to the next stage?
Yes, Peter. Yeah. We are talking with John, the guy who's managing our video, and the meeting will finish. And so one will not be broadcast in the workshop. Let's keep it the same link, keep it all open. Start again in 5 minutes or whatever the chair suggests. And the link will be live, but it will be broadcast. So just use the same.
So that was a bit hard to hear, but the advice from John was for us all to stay on the line, and John will just manage the public streaming independently.
Yes, sorry, it's hard to hear. Yes, that's the case.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was actually inundated by seawater.
Oh.
Okay, so we'll carry on. So that's the end of our official meeting. Since we're now in workshop, so there'll be